On this video, we'll give you non-obvious, sneaky starts heading into Week 8. I'm Alan Seslowsky here with Jerry Donabedian. Who at the running back may be a non-obvious start this week?
A guy I really like. I don't love his matchup actually, but Michael Carter for the Jets. He's playing against the Bengals, huge underdog. But I think just based on workload, him and Ty Johnson have been splitting since like week 2, week 3. Coleman really hasn't been involved much and has even been hurt recently. And then Carter, the last few weeks, had been kind of slowly taking a little bit more from Ty Johnson. Carter had always been getting more carries, but Johnson more targets. That has kind of evened out. And then Ty Johnson suffered a concussion midway through, late in the fourth quarter of their past game. So he might be out this week, in which case Carter then I think is going to get, I think even if Johnson plays, Carter will get 3 to 5 targets. And then if Johnson doesn't play, then I think you have upside for like a 6 to 8 target game.
Wide receiver. There are some good wide receivers on bye, and maybe not like your wide receiver ones per se, but it's important to have a strong wide receiver 3. Who's somebody that might be sitting on my bench or on the waiver wire that I can put in and plug him in this week in Week 8?
Yeah, this guy's probably not going to be on the waiver wire, but on the bench, Jarvis Landry. I think a lot of people, are still maybe thinking of him as like a 4th or 5th receiver type. And I know he just came back from the knee injury last week, took on a full workload, but then maybe tweaked his other leg. It sounds like he should be fine for this week. I think he's at least healthier than Odell Beckham. And Donovan Peoples-Jones is also banged up. So they really just don't have many healthy bodies. And they're playing a Steelers team this week where, the Steelers have not quite been what we've seen in past seasons, but their run defense is still strong. The area they've struggled is covering receivers. So I tend to think like whichever of Beckham or Landry is healthier is going to see like a good 8-9 targets this week. And frankly, Landry's been better than Beckham since they've got to Cleveland. I'm not sure I buy that he is better. I think Beckham has just been always so banged up, but Landry does seem to be the guy who is able to play through injuries at a higher level, and I think he's going to get a bunch of looks this week.
If your teams are like my teams, you're just cycling through tight ends unless you have the nerve to take Travis Kelce in the first round. Who's the tight end that might be a little bit of a sneaky start heading into Week 8?
I like Jared Cook. I think he's kind of been like right on that kind of like tight end streamer cusp of tight end 1 status all year. He hasn't had like a big game yet, but he's averaging 5.5 targets per week. We know, he's a solid player, at least as a pass catcher. We know who he is, and he's playing with Justin Herbert in a good offense. It's putting up a lot of points. In their last game before the bye in Baltimore, he was like the only guy in their offense that had a decent game too. He saw 7 targets. Scored his, I believe, his 2nd touchdown of the year. So yeah, I don't think he's like totally slept on, but I do think people are underrating him a little. And when I look at like the start percentages on Yahoo and stuff throughout the season, I've kind of always thought like there's always 1 or 2 tight ends who shouldn't be started over Jared Cook who are being more started than him. So I think I think his production will catch up to his volume a little bit. And he'll like establish himself as at least like the 7th or 8th best tight end down the stretch here.
I like that call. Jared Cook has had like the Benjamin Buttons career path where he started bad and got better with time, right? He reversed age. When you talk about the quarterback position, let's talk about it first in terms of one quarterback league, because most quarterbacks are owned in Superflex leagues, but maybe there's a quarterback that you could start in both formats that in Superflex is sitting on your bench. But who's my one quarterback streamer for this week that might be a little bit of a sneaky start that people aren't thinking about?
Yeah, I think this is someone who was like a very popular streamer earlier this season, Daniel Jones. You look at the game log and it is horrific recently. It's like 22, 29, 25, and then like 4, 7, 7. But you look at those games. Well, one game he left early with an injury. One game he was playing against the Rams with Sterling Shepard being the only one of his top 5 pass catchers healthy. And then last week against the Panthers, he actually played well with, again, 3 of his top 4 receivers out. He had Slayton back, but he played well. He just didn't need to pass a lot. They crushed the Panthers. And I think this week I don't know who will be back this week, but they do have an extra day before this Monday game against the Chiefs. And out of Barkley, Tony, Galladay, who else am I missing there? Slayton came back. Oh, Shepard was out last week. Slayton came back. So out of those 4, I'm betting 1 or 2 will be back. I think Shepard is probably the most likely. And then Tony, Galladay, and Barkley may be a little further off. But he should have a little more help this week, and he's playing in Kansas City. We know how bad that defense has been this season. I don't know how the game will go, but it's pretty safe to say it won't be a Giants blowout win, I think. So I think he'll need to throw at least to some extent this week. I think Jones will get back to like that 20-25 fantasy point range that we saw earlier, at least for 1 week.
I like that, especially in the leagues where I have Lamar Jackson and I need a quarterback fill-in. I think a lot of people are going to be rushing out maybe to go get Tua off that big game, but I don't know if that is smoke and mirrors or not. I still play in leagues that start a team defense, and I know a lot of our listeners do. So each week you need to stream those defense. It's so hard. Just only one team has the Rams defense or the Dallas defense. So who maybe are the streamers? Give us 2 streamers this week that we could pick up, maybe put a few dollar bid on there and pick them and play them right in week 8.
Yeah, so for like the streamer the only one that really I would say is really worth FOB this week. I actually saw someone bid 25 in a $100 FOB league for the Bengals defense against the Jets. I'm not saying do that. That was not smart.
So if you like the Bengals, how much FOB out of what percentage of your FOB would you put on them this week if you need a win?
I mean, I guess if I'm sitting there with I still have 98 of my 100, I might spend 3 or 4, but I don't usually spend more than like $1 out of a $100 budget or 2 on a defense. Because I'm pretty confident that I can get a lower owned defense like Falcons, which is my kind of the sleeper option this week. They're like less than 10% owned on Yahoo. Terrible defense, but they're home against the Panthers team that's been melting down. You look at the betting odds, they're favored. The Panthers have a low implied total. So to me, it's like, why spend more than a couple dollars a FOB when I think I can just scoop up a good play for free? That said, the Bengals against the Jets, you're getting a good defense and a weak opponent rather than just one of the two. In some leagues, they may already be owned, but for the most part, it looked like the Bengals were unrostered because they just had that road matchup with Baltimore.
If you like this video and the content that we just gave you, you could click the like and subscribe button to get all of our videos when we put them up for free. And you can see Jerry's target breakdown, my favorite article on RotoWire right now for free. Go to rotowire.com/try.